Okay, now we have some data in front of us for Western Airlines, and we're going to provide some descriptive statistics. What we see in front of us is that we have data for the Thursdays and Fridays of the last 3 weeks, and we have the number of passengers listed for morning flights versus evening flights, and this should say evening flights. Let me correct that. Okay, there we go. Now, we're assuming we're part of the team that will evaluate Western Airlines, and there's going to be a presentation related to this data in the morning, and we'd like to present those members in the audience with just a few simple sentences of what we have found. Okay, so first let's just compute some basic statistics, and the first one I want to just cover is the average. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just type in equal average and then highlight the range we need to compute the average, which is right there, and we come up with 244 number of flights, 0.3, and I'm going to abbreviate that to 1 decimal place. Okay, so about 244 flights. Copy that down, and we see in the evening flights there's about 296 or 297 flights, and so we can see that on average more people are flying to Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Providence on Thursdays and Fridays on the evening flights rather than in the morning flights. Okay, next, let's say we wanted to record the standard deviations to give some idea of, and let me just make this all formatted the same so it looks a little nicer on our screen. Okay, and let's assume that for the standard deviation we want to record what that standard deviation is between morning flights and evening flights. So we would type in STDEV, the left parentheses, and highlight the range that it applies to. Now, I don't want to include the average, so we only go to cell G5, and we come up with 61.7 for morning flights and 47.3 for evening flights. Okay, so using standard deviation, which is some measure of central tendency, we do see that there is greater variation in the morning flights across these cities on the last Thursday and Fridays in the morning flights than there are in the evening flights. And this is just a little bit of the statistics you could prepare for that meaning. Now, on the surface, and there's a lot more things you could say here, you could also compute other things of interest, like which city represented the maximum flights, which ones represented the minimum flights, and there's other things you could talk about as well. But let me just do the minimum max just to show how you do that in Excel. All right, what I'm going to do is insert a column here, and now part of it will roll off the screen, but let's say we wanted to compute the maximum number of flights over this range. We could type in max and then give it the range, and it will find the highest one, which was 312. We could copy that down, and we see it's 331 on a Friday flight to Philadelphia. The max in the morning flights was a Friday flight to Philadelphia as well. So Friday to Philadelphia seems to be the busiest. If we wanted to compute the minimum, and again, you could simply look at the data, but if this was a larger data set, that might be more complex to do. And we could type min and pick that range as well. Okay, so we get 166 and 210. And what we see is the Thursday flights to Providence both are the case where we have the least number of flights. Okay, so that's just a quick example. Let me shrink this down so we can get more on the screen here. And I'll just abbreviate this so it'll look a little better. And that's just a quick example of how you could provide some descriptive statistics given this particular scenario. Thanks, everyone.